All right, this one's supposed to be a short one, but it's probably going to end up pretty long. It is what it is. It's important stuff. What's up, folks, and welcome back. Today, we're going to go over a couple of things here. I've got some bad news, then I got some good news, then we got more good news, and then we got a little bit of bad news. So it depends on where you are in your journey. Good news because it's easy fixes, bad news because there's no mass way to do them. So yeah, so let's get right to it here. So this has always been the way, but I don't know where somebody decided to change what the public perception was about this. So if we went into add a listing here, as it relates to POD, who made it? People were telling people to always click another company or person. I've always done I did, and I'll tell you why. It was literally because I was told to by Etsy people. I actually had my shop suspended once upon a time, so I needed to show them that I was actually making the designs myself. The problem was I assumed because I was using POD that I should tick this box right here, another company or person. Turns out that if you choose another company or person right here, and then you were to choose that you're using a production partner who prints, packages, and ships everything for you, you are, in Etsy's eyes, not having any part of the actual process. Etsy also has always stated, and this has always been the case for as long as I recall them actually having the availability of production partners, which is well over 10 years now. There used to be a form you actually had to submit to get your production partner approved. They had always mandated that you had to at least have a hand in the design. Nothing has changed that way. Who made it? You did. That tells them that you have had a hand in the actual design. So in my inner circle group, I created a 6-step Etsy quick start guide that I'm probably going to release on YouTube here for free for everybody else too. When it came to this part, I put I did, and right away somebody called me out and said, I thought we were told to put another company or person. I was like, well, who told you that? And I went down a rabbit hole and I ended up actually sharing in the Print on Demand Rockstars group this little video here. I told Etsy support, who then escalated. It was a bit longer of a message, but I'll share the nuts and bolts of it here. It was basically like, should it be another company or person? Which didn't make sense to me since I did all the design work myself. Did something change, or am I correct here? So a little point to note here is that I have asked Etsy this repeatedly. This is the 4th time or 3rd time, I think, in 7 years or so, just to make sure that, things change. Like, again, this channel is called Jay's Way, not the only way, right? It's a very fluid kind of environment, POD, and it's constantly evolving. So I wanted to make sure that, hey, maybe something changed. Maybe I wasn't aware of it. Maybe I should be aware of it. Clearly I should be, right? So I asked them. I just wanted to be clear, since I always select I did, and I was told to, since I design everything myself. I said, I appreciate you reaching out to us and also willing to help others. I understand you want to know how to set up the listing. And then I clarified again. Yes, specifically what to pick from the Who Made It menu. And an Etsy support person told me to select I did since I design everything myself in order to be compliant with Etsy's having a hand in design policies, right? But today I heard otherwise from a third party, so I just thought I'd ask directly again. And they escalated. It took a little while there. But yes, in the Who Made It section, you need to select I did if you are the creator of the design, and then you will have the option to add your production partner for the listing you are creating. Again, nothing has changed here. This is the way it's always been. I'm not sure where it got flipped. I understand that potentially how that could be confusing, but you made the design, and that's what Etsy wants to know. You're also fully disclosing that you're using a production partner by selecting that you're using a production partner, which is essentially outsourcing the actual production, right? So no brainer there. That's kind of the good news, is that nothing's changed. It's always been that way, and I got proof again. The bad news though is that there's no quick and easy way to change this. So it might mean you have to go in and, depending on how you had it set up, you're probably going to have to go in and make those simple changes. They are simple changes, but it's going to take you some time if you're one of those people who's got, thousands of listings up. That said, you do want to be compliant. We know that Etsy it's felt like they've been almost looking for reasons to boot people from the platform, right? I know that's a bit of a stretch, but I'd probably err on the side of caution and make sure I'm compliant. That's the golden rule, right? So that's that. Problem solved. The other good news, in a way, is that Etsy has a whole new press release here. Mr. Silverman goes on for 9.5 minutes, almost 10. The highlighted points here are basically what's bold. So I mean, I can do a reaction video to this, but it's just not necessary. I'm sure others will probably do it too if you want to sit through like 10 minutes of scrubbing. But literally embrace our past to inform our future. They want to, you know, be more about self-expression, creativity. In a nutshell, they want to, you know, bring back that human element. They say they are and will remain the marketplace for original items from real people. To reinforce what we stand for, we've reorganized our policies into new creativity standards. It's really nice that they bolded this because that's really all you need to know. All items on Etsy must be either made by a seller, designed by a seller, sourced by a seller, or handpicked by a seller. As PODers, we fall into the designed by a seller. It's part and parcel with I did in terms of who made it, right? We've got a couple of items here that we'll be rolling out today also to select shops, spotlighting you, the heart of our marketplace. They're going to be doing some TV promotions, and they actually have a link to the TV ad. If you scroll up here and watch the video, there's a new TV ad where they actually show a robot dying. Maybe I'll play it. It's kind of funny.
You'll also see TV commercials featuring Etsy sellers and showing how valuable your human touch is in e-commerce today. Here's a look.
What does a robot know about love? How to translate that leap inside the human heart into something we can see and hold. The fingerprints we leave behind show how determined we are to give the world a piece of ourselves. Etsy.
The robot's dead. Okay, so, you know, emphasizing that the human element is back in full effect, right? So all said and done with the designed by a seller element, I wanted to know a little more, but of course Etsy doesn't tell you everything right in the main article, so they link to you know, a litany of other articles throughout. Status quo for Etsy, make it a confusing spider web. So I clicked the full creativity standards. So we've got made by a seller, so physical items made by a seller by hand or using computerized tools. So we didn't actually make anything by hand, but designed by a seller, seller's own designs that are produced or printed by a third party or offered as digital downloads. So we're lumped in with POD as digital downloads, it would appear. I'll take it, not a big deal. Otherwise, of course, handpicked by a seller. So that would be your vintage items that are, you know, a curated collection, or sourced by a seller, which are items that enable buyer creativity. So craft and party supplies, and items that are personalized with buyer's custom text or images. Made by a seller include only handcrafted items by hand. So again, we're looking at the wooden chair. Hand altered items, so hand embroidering something. Hand assembled items, so commercially available supplies or components like jewelry. And then items produced using computerized tools. Physical items that are seller produced in their personal shop or home. So like using a 3D printer, a CNC, a cry cut. These items may be produced based on a seller's original design or using a templated design. They reference clothing embroidered by a seller using computerized embroidery machine, tumblers decorated with vinyl stickers printed by a cry cut. And I know people are going to chirp me for saying cry cut instead of Cricut. Go back long enough, it was actually cry cut was the way. It's a cryo cut, or I think it was something along those lines. It was named after the process. That was before they put the little Cricut antennae on it, right? So yeah, old habits. And then they go into a little bit of detail about the following examples are items that do not qualify as made by a seller. Grabbing something, you know, and then slapping a sticker on it does not a handmade product make. And then we come down to what matters to us is designed by a seller. So sellers' original designs that are produced or printed by a third party or offered as a digital download. They've lumped us officially now with PODers in with digital downloads. Not a big deal to me. At least we have a specific category now, right? Items designed by a seller include only digital downloads of seller's original designs, original content created by the seller sold as a digital download. So a digital file, some people buy mock-ups, audio, text documents, scan copy, physical artwork, blah, blah, blah. Seller's original designs produced by a production partner. This is where you would say I did in creating the design and then outsource the production. So original designs created by a seller and produced with the assistance of a production partner. Sellers must disclose that an item is made by a production partner and provide accurate information about where the item will ship from. So, example here is a unique dress designed by a seller, reproduced at scale by a production partner. A graphic logo created by a seller, POD seller, and printed onto a phone case by a third-party printer. like Printify. And then seller prompted AI creations. So AI generated design is okay. Creations that were generated using AI tools. DALL-E, they cite, based on original prompts. Sellers must disclose within their listing description if an item is in fact created with the use of AI. An example here is a fantasy scene based on a seller's original prompt or inputs produced by an AI generator. A custom portrait of a buyer's pet generated using AI tools. So if you used Midjourney, for example, and you can have it weight an original photo as reference, use it for heavy weighting and kind of cartoonize it or whatever you wanted to do, you can do that in Midjourney. That would be what that's referring to. The following are examples of items that do not qualify as designed by a seller. Selling a bundle, collection, or scan or PDF of someone else's artwork. So you cannot buy digital files and resell them. Same way we see people on Etsy buying PNGs from other digital download sellers and putting them on a shirt and selling that on Etsy. You did not have a hand in the design. You cannot do this. You will get shut down. Using a pre-existing design or choosing from a production partner's ready-made templates, except in the case of personalized items. So again, exactly what I just said. But if it's personalized, you are allowed. As it says, the exceptions are personalized because you're actually literally changing the design. Makes sense. And AI prompt bundles. Those are rampant on Etsy. You cannot sell them on Etsy. And then, it's got a couple of options here. So we got some designed by a seller, wedding invitations, designed by a seller and provided as a digital download, a seller's unique original design printed onto a blanket by a production partner. For example, like the microfiber fleece or whatever, the micro fleece blankets, that Printify has there. Seller prompted AI art, kind of what I was referencing with the Midjourney there. You could also have it as a digital download, or you could sell it as POD on, a canvas or something like that. And we got handpicked by a seller. This is talking about the vintage stuff, rockabilly dress from the 50s. Just gonna skip over that. And then we come down to sourced by a seller. And this is where it gets, a little more convoluted, because I'm not even sure now if Etsy even knows what print on demand really is, because they told us up here, a seller's unique original design printed onto a blanket by a production partner, aka POD. Then we come down here to sourced by a seller. May include buyer's unique text or image produced by a production partner. That sounds the same as what we just read. Example, a t-shirt, hat, or neon sign. They can be personalized with the buyer's name. So in reference to personalized items, it still falls under sourced by a seller as opposed to designed by a seller. Neither here nor there. At the end of the day, it's all still POD. We just have two categories to choose. So the item they show here is buyer personalized t-shirt, printed on demand. So if you're technically doing personalized items, it's going to be sourced by a seller. Not sure why there's that distinction there. It is what it is. It's Etsy, clear as mud as usual. Anyway, so as I try to clear up that mud, it says listing photos for sourced by a seller must use a photo or video content of the items you have for sale, not stock or commercial images. See listing image requirements here. Okay, so now we're actually into the whole mock-up thing, right? This mock-up fiasco seems to never go away. It seems to pop up every year. I've said before that it's basically not so much the mock-ups, it had to do with the multitude of people using the same or very similar mock-ups that were then being stolen by the Temus and the Shines. I have a video, I'll link to that up here. If the bots crawled your listings and saw that those same photos were now on the Temus or the Shines, they were terminating those listings and potentially your account on Etsy. Not fair, because it's the Temus and the Shines that have stolen your products, but the bots just associated it with having been mass produced now. Totally unfortunate and totally unfair, but I do know that Starla and the good folks over at eRank are trying to do their best to get some answers that way for the people who were wrongfully terminated because of this. So listing image requirements, use original photos. No brainer. Okay, you must use your own photos. The exceptions, in certain situations, using original photos of the exact items may not be possible. You can use stock photos in some limited circumstances, where you are offering either personalized or customized items or an item made with a production partner, as discussed below. So those are the two options we had, right? Photos of personalized or customized items. For personalized or customized items, custom drawings, monogrammed accessories, or t-shirts featuring a buyer's custom text, your first image must feature a finished customized item similar to what the buyer will receive. It doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily be the exact image, but it has to be similar to what they will receive, and it's a finished item. This helps buyers visualize that the custom-made item will look like when completed. It is prohibited to use a photo of a blank product or a mock-up with a placeholder text. Example, your text here as the main image. They want you to actually have the custom name on there, right, to show what it would look like. Computer-generated mockups may be used in addition to listing images to showcase customization options. Just make sure your first image is the real deal. If you would like to use a buyer's review photo of a listing image, you need permission from the buyer. That is not new either. None of this is actually anything new. They always wanted an accurate depiction. This is what we said before. What I've kind of clarified every couple of years now. They just want to make sure that you are showing the customer as accurately as possible the item that they're going to get. This bodes well for you and for your customer. And then listing photos of items made with production partners. So when working with production partners, the requirements for the listing photos vary depending on the item. If you design a unique item such as a piece of furniture, clothing, or a book, and a production partner manufactures it for you, use a real photo of the physical end product. If you create an original design such as artwork or pattern that a production partner prints onto a base item like a t-shirt or mug, you may use a stock photo mock-up to illustrate the end product the buyers will receive. Buyer personalized items, though, must follow the guidelines in personalized or customized. When it comes to personalized items, they want your first image to be, again, a finished customized item similar to what the buyers will receive. So it might be in your best interest to order one of those personalized items, and then that way you can list it as an actual item, and then you can use the AI mockups, computer generated mockups, in addition to that initial listing. So you'll just need one of that customization, not the end of the world, right? Get permissions from your buyers. This is going to be the easiest way to put up new listings. A lot of my customers leave, especially on the personalization stuff, photos in the listing. They're happy, they're great. Reach out to them. Thank you so much for the review, blah, blah, blah. Can I please use this in my listing photos? If they say yes, you are golden as long as you have that answer. Use an Etsy Convo to do that so that you do have proof, and Bob is your uncle. Been a while since I said that, actually. So as said, the good news here is that mockups are allowed. When it comes to personalization, you might want to buy a sample, or at least, you should by now at least have a few if you're selling them listing photos from your customers that you can leverage. What better than showing an accurate depiction, right? The bad news is that no AI mockups for that first image. You can still use AI elsewhere in your listing. Do yourself a favor though, and try to make them look as unique or real as possible. We definitely don't want Etsy throwing down another, caveat in the mix. And I was going to say a banhammer caveat. We don't want them to go and say all of a sudden now that these AI mockups are rampant and terrible and they need to be removed from the site altogether, because that's just more work for all of us. So try to play nice within the rules. So my advice here is to move on, make more designs, make better designs, and do not use AI mockups for that first image. I think if we play within Etsy's, parameters, we're all going to be just fine. And lastly, do not overthink this, please. Focus on what I just said, make more designs, make better designs. Do not overthink this. Do not blow this out of proportion. Do not come back with some reading between the lines, convoluted ideas of what may have been extrapolated by somebody that got all of a sudden twisted into some new hype or anything like that. My thoughts genuinely, are with the people who got booted by using AI generated mockups if their initial image was not, in fact, an AI mockup. That sucks for them. Hopefully they get their account back. Otherwise, Etsy has long stated that that first image must be an accurate depiction of the product that the end user will have in their hand. So for the most part, again, I say if you play by the rules, you've probably got nothing to worry about. See you in the next one.